What was the biggest duck up a teacher did to get fired? There was a teacher in my system who got fired after some kids found his online dating profile. It was so weird. He didn't talk about the profile at school. And it was clearly something he did in his private life. Ike. It wasn't even a particularly racy profile. He just wanted to meet women his age to date. Whatever. Anyway. The kids reported finding it. And the administration fired him. He successfully sued the town for wrongful termination. My year 12 teacher called a boy in my class a ducking hunt. To be fair, he was. He got badly drunk one night and broke into a house so he could sleep on the couch. With a stroke of complete genius. He chose the house of the chairman of the school board of governors. He slept with 3 students. 2 females and 1 male. Ages 14-16. He actually had sex with one of the students in a school staircase. And just a few days ago he was sentenced to a minimum of 6 years. Edit. He was jailed for 11 years with an on-parole period of 6 years. Link to article. This is a man who doesn't discriminate. 60-ish-year-old band teacher. At the school for like 30 years. A 17-year oboe player confessed her love to him and they had sex. She told someone and he got fired after the grapevine spread. Some horrible girl was being a tit in lesson. Teacher told her to knuckle down or she wouldn't amount to anything. Her reply was that her plan was to leave school and basically be a baby making machine and sit on B. Teacher never seen again. Bye bye Mr. Slight. That's a shame. I wish the teacher wasn't fired. He was the best. Most enthusiastic and nice teacher I ever had. He taught science and would talk to us about video games and stuff during break. He was doing an experiment involving fire and flammable liquid. And somehow the beaker fell over. Launching, essentially, napalm all over the wall. Some desks. And unfortunately a student's face. 3rd degree burns and a good amount of mental trauma. I feel really bad for him. He was one of the nicest people I've met. My 8th grade science teacher got fired because he 1. Told an African American student to go back to prison. And 2. Was handing back tests and was returning an Asian student's test which he got a 92 on and said, "Oh. Parents aren't gonna like that one too much." I feel bad for laughing at 2. Solves an axe to students. It had been going on for years at the high school before she was caught. So you guys got a jump street in town? Infiltrate the dealers. Find the supplier. Male teacher gave his phone to a girl in class to show a picture of his cat. It turns out his big dig and a cat look nothing alike. Had a kid in my Spanish 1 class that was your stereotypical I'm gonna ignore and disrespect the T. One day in the middle of the year she calls him out for the 100th time for not paying attention and he has an absolute fit. Gets up. Gets 2 inches from this sweet elderly lady's face. Cursing so loudly his face was blood red and had saliva coming out of his mouth. In a quick second I hear the loudest smack. And see this kid stumbling backwards onto a desk. I look to see the teacher's hand slightly raised in the air and her face goes white. Eyes in horror of what she had just done. The class is dead silent and she just ran out of the classroom. Didn't see her again for the rest of the year. A substitute teacher I had in 5th grade sent a kid to the office because the kid asked him to stop. He never showed up again. His name was, and I sheet you not, Mr. Tickle. Maybe not the biggest duck up of this thread, but one that was completely avoidable. She had open liquor bottles in her classroom office. A student saw it and told his parents, resulting in a principal search. She was escorted off the property immediately. Oh come on man. Noob mistake. Everyone knows you can get away with it if you just add Baileys to your coffee thermos at home beffer. Thermite burned a hole through the desk. And the floor. He hit a student with a chair. Girl asked to use the bathroom. Male teacher said no. She said she needed to go as it was that time of the month. He gave her a tissue and told her to prove it. She stormed out. called her mom, who raised all kind of much understood hell, and he was fired within the day. Similar. Was in class with a girl named Emma. 10th grade, she said she needed to use the restroom, teacher refused. She said she was going through a bad duty and really needed to go. He refused, stating girls don't need to go as often as boys. She threatened to pee on his desk if he didn't let her go. If you left class without a pass, it's a week's suspension. She never missed a day. Teacher still refused. So Emma hopped on the desk, pulled down her pants and peed all over it. Papers. His phone. Car keys etc. He was fired after her mom raised hell and she got a 1-month suspension and a fine for public nudity. My elementary, grade 0-6, gym teacher yelled at kids for using the gym equipment and hit one of them. He then went on a vacation that lasted indefinitely. That's what parents say to their kids about a dog that had to be put down. He was a religion teacher. He kept saying if someone did something bad he would kiss them. Someone did something bad, he kissed them, and bam, he was gone. My old chemistry teacher told me he got fired at one school he worked at because he did a potassium. Some wind blew it over and the reaction apparently stained a large patch of concrete purple. So it wasn't really a teacher. It was a substitute, but still, so he had this really strict no phone rule. If he saw phones out he would take it. This one girl was Snapchatting in the middle of class and he asked her repeatedly to give him her pee. She refused and continued making funny faces on her camera. Then he grabbed her arm and tried to forcefully take it, so she hid it in between her legs. Well, this was a persistent man and he really wanted the phone. Well, you can guess what happened next. Might I add, this is a Christian school. Jokingly smacked a student. Student was a dramatic bully. Teacher got fired. Teacher's son is still my best friend. Had sex with a girl whose father had just passed away. There had been rumors that he had had sex with numerous students, but once he went after this girl, it raised some flags that he was a true predator and not just a horny guy who liked 16-year age of. Well, she wasn't fired but put on leave. When people were talking she would scream 1, 2, 3. Stop. Nobody stopped. So she yelled, like a B-I-E-I-E-I screech, and everyone would shut up. Her nickname was Frieza because she had the same voice as the Dragon Ball character Frieza. She went on leave with nervous breakdown. My class was ruthless. We had a substitute student teacher for a few weeks back in grade school who taught us the wrong way. I don't remember exactly how she ducked it up or what she had us doing wrong. But when our real teacher came back and told us to throw out our study guides, we never saw the new lady again. He called my class a bunch of assholes and regularly looked down girls' tops. I had a teacher who was fired for having sex with students, 2 of which were twins. She didn't get prosecuted, however, because apparently it's okay because she isn't a man who preyed on adolescents. She is a woman and those few boys were curious. Real nice. Now she's a meth heroin addict and her name frequently pops up on the police arrest reports. My kindergarten teacher singled me out and held a massive grudge against me. She encouraged the entire class to bully me for being weird. If I did anything too weird she would punish the entire class for my transgression and make. She also called me stupid to my parents' faces for having to ask for confirmation on how to spell T. That was just normal to her. A couple years later I find out she had to leave town shortly afterward. My chemistry teacher in grade 11 blew up 4 windows with a balloon. Sadly, they transferred him. What he was doing was demonstrating reactivity. Fill a balloon with hydrogen and oxygen. Poke it with a burning stick. And it goes boom. Fill it with hydrogen and chlorine. Then either poke it or shine laser at it. Much more boom. Now, use hydrogen and fluorine. Well, fluorescent lighting will set that off. And it'll blow shit up. When he released the last balloon, on a cold, dark winter morning, in the middle of the school courtyard, he hadn't first checked if his laser worked. So the balloon kept drifting. right up to the windows of a 4th floor classroom that had students inside and the lights on. Boom. The teacher had multiple guns in the trunk of his car. Unlocked car. Within 100 feet of a middle school. I guess it's not particularly unusual for rural schools. But this is in a Los Angeles school. Dude was led off campus in handcuffs. I'm in my mid-30s from the rural south. And when I was in school, rifles weren't a big deal. Students were allowed to keep them in their trucks in the parking lot. Lots of the students were hunters. And they'd get up before sunrise and go hunting before school. Many didn't have time to take their rifles home. And if given a choice of hunting or skipping school, they were going to skip school. So they were allowed to bring the rifles. I think the rule was keep them in your truck and keep the truck locked. Those were simpler times. She drove to work high on pills. Hit a school bus full of elementary school kids. And drove off. My CCD teacher in 6th grade told the entire class about her theory that the Sandy Hook shootings were. To be fair, he didn't get fired. He healed himself in the science store. Affair with another teacher got out. He was married with kids. I never knew him or was taught by him, but it was awful. A new teacher had spread a rumor that I was anorexic. But instead of doing what she should have, she was talking to students about it instead. I wasn't in her class, but my locker was by her door and a restroom was across the hall from her. What she didn't know was that I was born with 5 congenital heart defects. I was on Lasix for fooled around my heart due to heart failure, and it makes you pee a lot. I was super skinny and was about to have my 4th open heart surgery. She was mean about it too with her gossip. Once I'd heard about it, there was meeting over it. She was fired. She was told if she really thought something was wrong. Spreading rumors the way she did was the wrong way to do so. This happened in 2005. I saw her a few months ago working at Target. A biggest duck up I've seen recently was a teacher who yanked a student out of a desk, wasn't even H. And we can't wear hoodies in school. Someone was recording and she got fired and we never saw her again. At one school I attended, the band director assaulted a kid because the kid was having trouble learning. At the school I graduated from, the woodshop teacher just went postal and beat the ever-loving shit out of a kid in the bathroom. That was about 8 years ago. Woodshop isn't taught there anymore because of that incident. But the woodshop room still has half-finished projects, piles of sawdust, and tools laying around. I doubt it will ever get cleaned up. Not my story, but my husband's. A female teacher at his high school had a relationship with one of his classmates. He bragged. Someone told. And she was fired and sent to jail. I'm pretty sure I heard that they still ended up together after all that. My 10th grade Spanish teacher cursed out another teacher in the middle of the hallway. She did it in Spanish thinking none of the kids would understand. School cops came, arrested her, and she was fired on the spot. During high school, an elderly teacher put a lollipop in a 17-YO girl's hoodie and said, "Some things are meant to stay in little girls." The dude got fired 2 months after he started teaching at the school. I heard he was also really sexist and made racist remarks in class. I worked in an after-school program and a teacher aide was struggling for money and apparently did S. No one knew until one of the parents of the kids saw her in a video and went straight to the office. She got escorted off campus with handcuffs. It was really sad because she obviously needed the extra money for school and she was really good. I don't even know if it's legal. My freshman chemistry teacher got caught banging a student and had a bunch of Polaroids of her. If you could picture a small town, totally socially awkward chemistry teacher, he is probably what you'd expect. Slightly long hair, tan polyester type polos every day, pants just about a ½ inch too short, thin frame with a little round belly, thick rimmed brown glasses, and black or brown orthopedic shoes. At the time he was around 45 and I would have thought he was a virgin. This student was a nerdy banged girl. Would have never expected it. Looking back, she was actually kind of cute. It seriously sent shockwaves through the school. He ended up serving a little jail time. Then went on the 6 offenders registry. 3 years later at graduation, the female student was voted teacher's pet for our senior superlative. A girl lost her father to a long and hard fight with cancer. Teacher pulls her aside a few days later before class and says, "It's such a relief that your dad has died. Now you can finally focus more on your studies." Accused the whole class of plagiarism. We told another teacher. And a few days later she got fired. The guy who was supposed to be my math teacher freshman year was replaced just a couple weeks before. Presumably because he didn't want to continue the relationship. He barged into the girls' locker room in middle school and said that he mistook it for the boys' locker room. But that didn't explain why he wanted to stand in our tiny locker room and watch people change any. He had done other creepy stuff before, like asking girls to do stretches while he stared at them, among other things. He also had anger issues. I have no idea where my school found that guy. 2 teachers who were dating each other both called in sick in the middle of standardized testing week. It became obvious when they came back wearing wedding rings. They told their students and teacher friends. And their pics were all over MySpace. From what I heard, the board put them on a probationary period, so if they were caught doing anything else they'd be fee. Well, the wife went to the superintendent and cussed him the duck out and got fired. The husband lasted 1 more year, went to a different school, and got fired from there and lost his license after a 14-year-old girl's parents reported several less. He pushed a student through a window